So this is going to be my April wrap up. I did read a lot in April. I ended up reading 30 plus books. So we'll just jump right into it and go through it. So the first thing was one that I've technically been currently reading for a couple of months, which was The Autistic Brain by Temple Grandin. Ended up giving it 3.5 stars. It did make a lot of generalizations, which was a bit disappointing coming from someone who is autistic. The author is autistic, but I did find a lot of the insights to be valuable. So, and then I read books 2 and 3 in the One Day series by Dana Asali. So, Secrets We Hunt and Burdens We Carry. Both really good, really short, really quick reads. I do have Desires We Seek on my TBR for at some point in the summer, and there's going to be a 5th book coming out, which I think will conclude this series, because there's 5 people in that group and each book follows a different member of the group. So then we got into graphic novel and manga territory. So I read Parasocial by Alex de Campi. It was okay. Nothing special really. Could have done a lot more with the premise. So yeah. Both Dana Asali books I give 4.5 stars. Parasocial I give 3. I then read Queer in Asia, which I think is a web comic that's been published by Seven. Really good. Didn't focus more on like most LGBT books do on discovering sexuality, but this was someone who was comfortable with this sexuality and how they navigate everyday life as a queer person. I gave that 3.25 stars. Then I read My Monster Girlfriend, which is a graphic novel anthology. I actually really enjoyed it. The stories were short and punchy. There were only a handful I didn't really enjoy, and that was probably because the art styles didn't really work for me. So that one got 4.25 stars. I read the first volume of Terraman by Dongwoo Han, which is a series I'm definitely keeping my eye on for a first volume that was published early this year. Absolutely outstanding. Solid 5-star. If you're looking for something along the lines of like Code Geass, but with less fantasy, pick up Terraman. Because you're essentially following a boy who poses as a terrorist to stop a terrorist. And there is a fantasy element, but it's not as heavy as Code Geass. But there is a lot of action, a lot of stuff going on, and the first volume really blew me away. Then I switched back to actual reading for a bit. So I read Nippon Ya Nippon by Kazushige Abe. Very classic Japanese novel. Actually really enjoyed it. I find with translations they can often be quite dry, but I know that's a translation issue rather than a book issue. I give that one 4 stars. I also read a prequel novella to a series that's starting this year. That was Greedy as a Ghoul by Casey Sutton. I do actually have an arc of Malthus Unchained. No, Malthus Necromancer Unchained, which is the first book. It comes out this summer. I really enjoyed the prequel story. Gave it 4 stars. It kind of set up the world a little bit and introduced us to the main character. But there wasn't a lot of substance to it. So my opinion on that will be formed when I read the actual first book. Then we went straight back to manga. So I read two standalone LGBT mangas from CTK, Midnight Rain and On Doorstep. I loved both of them. We're following very unique characters. So in the first one we have a man in crippling debt and a man who's on the wrong side of the tracks. Age gap romance, hella cute. And on Doorstep, it's a retired police officer and a petty thief. Also, age gap romance. Both got 5-star reads. Highly recommend. I do plan to read Never Good Enough, which is also by the same author, to see, if all of their work is 5 stars from me. Then I read the second volume, omnibus volume of Goodnight Pum by Inyo Asano. That was 4 stars. Compared to the first omnibus volume, you don't actually see much of Pum in this one. And I don't know how to describe this series. It's very slice of life, but also very dark. But at the same time, it's extremely slow paced. Like, even though these omnibus volumes are 400 plus pages, I've read other omnibuses, like for Fullmetal Alchemist, that are about the same length or bigger, that I've read in literally a couple of hours because they're so fast paced, you just keep going. The volumes of Goodnight Pum take me over a day to read, which is saying something for manga for me. I will be continuing the series, but I'm not going to rush through the omnibuses. There's only 7, and I've already read 2, so I'm just going to pace my way through them and see. One of the TikTokers I follow, Grim, is a big fan of Inyo Asano and has recommended a lot of her works. So even if Goodnight Pum isn't my thing, even though it is considered her magnum opus, there are a few others like Solanin that I will be checking out. Then I binged read part 1 of the Chainsaw Man manga by Tatsuki Fujimoto, which is volumes 1 through 11. That wraps up the first arc of Chainsaw Man. We are, I think, up to volume 14 or 15 right now, but I'm waiting for a bit more to come out before I binge read the next lot. So these ranged in rating for me from 4 to 5. They all fall somewhere in there. Majority of them are 5. And I will say, if you're a bit nervous about going into Chainsaw Man, I will say the first couple of volumes are pretty comedic. They focus quite heavily on the comedy and the characters, but after volume 3, it gets a lot darker. But there is non-stop action. There's amazing fight sequences, and from what I've seen of the anime, having read the first arc of the manga, it's a very faithful adaptation from the source material. So at this point in the series, I don't think you're going to miss much if you're an anime only viewer, but you might miss out on some little things, but nothing major has been left out. I switched back to graphic novels for a bit. Then I read the Boogeyman by Matteo Salvia. Really good look at I don't even know how to describe it. It's not mental health as such, because these beings are real. They're not just created in the boy's mind, but he is dealing with grief and trauma and a lot of things that no child should really have to deal with on his own, which was a great story. Solid 4.5 stars. Only thing that lowered the rating for me is I felt the beginning was good, the middle slowed down quite a bit, and then the ending was outstanding. So, pacing issues. Then I started 3 more manga series, which are ones that have been on my radar for a long time, but I've never picked up, and this year I am planning to read all of these series in their entirety. So the first one was Tokyo Ghoul, Volume 1 by Suishida. Obviously been out for a long time. It's a classic anime series with a huge following. One of my best friends included adores Tokyo Ghoul. Obviously I know the general premise and what happens and such in the manga, but I've never actually read it or watched the anime. Volume 1, 4 stars from me. The first part was okay. Second half, after Kaneki gets turned into a ghoul, amazing. We also meet a lot of the main characters in the first volume, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting to mainly meet Kaneki and Hide, but we also meet Rize and Toka and a lot of other characters that become very prominent as the series progresses. I don't know whether yet I will be reading Tokyo Ghoul Re, but I will make that decision once I've made up my mind on the original series. Then I started Insomniacs After School by Makoto Ojiro, which is an anime that came out recently and everyone's been loving. I only gave that 3.75 purely because I felt it was a bit long for what it was. Normally, slice of life, high school romance volumes tend to be short because there isn't a lot going on in them. You're basically following them in their everyday lives as they go to school and things like that, so they tend to be on the short side. I felt Insomniacs After School was a little long, but I did enjoy it, and I will continue with the series. Don't know whether it's going to become a favourite, but we'll keep an eye on it. Then I started Boys Abyss by Ro Minanami. Now this was extremely dark, amazing. If you like, I can't even pair it with anything. The closest thing I've seen to Boys Abyss would be Oshiki no Ko, because that starts off, you have a very light bit at the beginning and then it just goes dark, and it stays dark. Boys Abyss is much the same. You're dealing with a teenager who is being emotionally and mentally abused by his mother. He's going to turn down a lot of opportunities in life, like going to university, because it's not what his mother wants. But one thing that's always made him happy is this idol group. And one day he figures out that his favourite idol has moved to his town, and a lot of stuff goes on. It's very dark, but I am excited to see where that goes. Then I went back to Tatsuki Fujimoto, not for Chainsaw Man, but I read one of his standalones in Goodbye Eri. Goodbye Eri was solid. It was a 4 stars. Didn't have any action as such. It focuses more on this one boy's journey of coming to terms with death, basically. So his mother is sick and she asks him to film her, because he is an amateur filmmaker, from that moment to her dying breath. And he isn't able to do that. Obviously, being a young teenager at the time, he isn't able to mentally and emotionally go through that. And then, as a slightly older teen, he meets Eddie, who at first poses as a big fan of his movies, but it turns out she is also dying, and she wants the same thing of the main character, and we get a few twists and turns in there, as always. I also started After the Rain, Volume 1, by Jun Mayuzuki. This was great, 4.5 stars, age gap romance, this time hetero romance, not LGBT. There's a cat. Hi, Mr. Boots. We now have 3. That is Boots. You met Suki and Tigger, now Boots. Yeah, After the Rain, main character is in high school. She's 17, looking at going to university and thinking about her future. But she also has a major crush on her manager at work, who is 45. And at the end of the first volume, she ends up confessing to him, and they do actually go on a date, and it's really cute. The closest thing I can compare that to is Call Me Can't Communicate, because the main character is so shy, and she often comes across as being quite cold and cut off to other people. Okay. When she's actually not, she's just really shy and anxious. So if you like Call Me Can't Communicate and you're looking for another romance series that's very similar, try After the Rain. And then coming towards what I read towards the end of the month, I binged read all 6 omnibus volumes of Watakoi, or Love is Hard for Otaku by Fujita. One of my favourite series. I cried at the end. I can't believe it's over. I can't believe Fujita left us on that ending. You know, they drop some absolute bombs at the end of that series, and I wish there was more. I just wish there was more. If you haven't seen Watakoi, please go and watch it or read it. The anime only adapts the first 4 manga volumes. There are 11 volumes in total, or 6 in the bind-up editions. But it only adapts the first 4, and that's the full season of anime, and the 2 OVAs only adapt 4 volumes. So basically following 4 characters, 2 couples. So you've got Hanako and Taro, or Kabukura, and Hirotaka and Narumi. 2 couples. All otaku weebs in their own way. So you've got Hanako, who's a cosplayer. Hirotaka likes games. Narumi is into dojinshi, and she's a fujoshi. And then you've got Kabukura, who's more like what you would call your standard weeb. It's how they navigate everyday life when being an otaku is sometimes looked down on. Even if you are Japanese, it can be looked down on and seen as a bit strange. It's how they navigate life, work, friendships, relationships, while having these sorts of hobbies and not wanting to hide them, but hiding them out of necessity. And then you just get the most wholesome stories ever. My favourite would be the entire storyline between Hanako and Kabukura, especially in the last 2 volumes. I can't believe Fujita made us wait that long and then left us on that ending. I'm still angry about it, but I love it. And then Nao and Ko. Nao and Ko are so cute. They are both very shy in their own ways. Like, Nao can talk to people and he's very uppity, very bubbly, but he's completely oblivious. And when he does catch on to the fact that this other person likes him, he absolutely blue screens. He has no idea what to do. Ko, on the other hand, is anxiety to the extreme. She cannot do anything. Like, initially, when her and Nao meet, she has quite a tomboy look, and he assumes that she's a guy. So he refers to her with a male honorific, Ko-kun, rather than Ko-chan for a girl. And she doesn't correct him for the longest time. It's actually 2 of Nao's friends who end up saying, "Oh, you didn't know that Ko was a girl," when he sees it coming out of the women's bathroom. And there's just hilarity. There are so many references in there. There's references to Pokemon, so many games like Smash Bros, Mario Kart. They play so much. There are so many references in there that it's just brilliant. And then I ended off the month with the Merry Dredgers by Jeremy Seaship, which was for a blog tour happening today, the 5th of May. I gave that on 3.75. It was good, but nothing really new, nothing really exciting, a bit predictable in places, but was a decent read. So that's what I ended up reading in April. As of right now in May, I have binged read the entirety of the Demon Slayer manga. Can't believe I haven't done it before, and I'm surprised how short the actual arcs are compared to anime, because the first 2 seasons of the anime is only about 6 volumes of the manga, and the Mugen Train is another 2. And then the arc that's currently happening, the Swordsmith Village arc, which is currently airing, is only like 3 volumes. But that's because there's not that many arcs in Demon Slayer. So you'll have the what I would call the training arc at the beginning. Then you've got the 12 Kizuki arc, where you're introduced to the idea of the upper and lower moons and various battles and blah blah blah. Then you get to Mugen Train, Swordsmith Village, and then you have lead up to the final battle, end of manga. So I was really surprised, but I've loved the Demon Slayer manga anime so far, despite the fact Mugen Train emotionally destroyed me. I'm not watching the Swordsmith Village arc as it's airing. I'm going to wait for it to be finished, which is why I did read ahead in the manga, so I'm kind of mentally prepared for what's coming. And I do have one of the spin-off volumes called One Winged Butterfly, which is a few short stories in the Demon Slayer world that weren't included in the original manga. So I will be reading that. So that is completely done. I'm still halfway through the Unity game, and a quarter of the way through both Obsidian Butterfly and Meddling Kids. I haven't touched those, but I have read half of Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I will be finishing this probably today. It's so easy to read, and I have read this one before. I do have the next 2 as well. I was also given a copy of the newly released Slaying the Virus and Vaccine Dragon. I followed PSI for a long time. I have read and reviewed Slaying the Sky Dragon and the second book as well that they came out with, and they've now come out with this one focusing on the COVID-19 pandemic and a lot of stuff like that. So that is on my TBR. And then I obviously have the 5 books from the previous book of the month that I haven't still gotten to. I've got to catch up to book 14 in Anita Blake this month. But being as I'm on a kick at the minute, I'm going to try and keep that ball rolling. I'm probably going to finish Before the Coffee Gets Cold and try and read a few book 2 and 3 of that maybe, and then I'm going to go and binge read Tokyo Ghoul because it's only 13 volumes and I've read 1, so I only have 12 volumes to go, and I can do that in about a day. And then I'm going to do that. I'm going to intersperse a lot of the manga I want to read because I can read them quickly with the actual books I have to read. Hopefully that'll keep the pace up for me, and obviously allow me to read a lot more. So I will keep you updated, and hopefully you'll have a vlog soon, because it is a bank holiday weekend this weekend, so I'm hoping I'm going to get a lot of reading done and have enough for vlog content. So I'll keep you updated, and I'll see you again soon.